Yeah.
Logo.
Which logo?
That makes us official.
Yeah. Anyone with a logo is official, Stefan.
If you have a logo.
You've got like an abstract Rubik's Cube going on behind you. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
Stefan,
yeah.
You haven't showed everyone what you can do with that thing.
I will show everyone. I'll just wait a little longer.
So it's not just a painting, of course, because it's in Stefan Bajayo's house. It's not just a painting. There's a whole digital experience that goes along with the painting.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I couldn't help it. So
VR Rubik's Cube experience or something?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. Well, it's only cool for like 2.5 minutes or a minute. And then you realize, oh, wow, it's only cool if someone's never seen it before.
Yeah.
But it's paying its dividends on this COVID-19 time when everyone's finally seeing the inside of my apartment. They're like, oh, what is that behind you?
I've been trying to make do with a tiny little studio space. So like if I rotate it this direction, I just blind everybody. So that's not really great.
You have some baller views though, based on the photos you've been.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I can see Manhattan, lower Manhattan, and then I can see a lot of Brooklyn. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's new digs for you, right? When did you move in?
New digs. Yeah, earlier this year, like probably 6 weeks ago.
Wow, so you just beat it, luckily. We had someone who just did a move, literally he just did a move like last week. Not even.
Not a fun time to move.
It was Friday last week. I'm like, wow.
Don't touch anything.
I'm like, how do you move without touching anything? Like, how many Clorox wipes does it take to move?
Lots of gloves.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
That's a fact that's hard to get, right?
My friend's friend got ticketed this morning, $400 for standing too close to
For standing what?
her friend while speaking to her on the street. Too close to her friend while speaking to her on the street. It's a new law as of today in New York.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, they're enforcing it now.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which I think they need to, because a lot of people are being too cavalier about the whole thing. But that's pretty
Yeah,
cheap.
I got a little, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little pissed at Florida over the evening when I heard that the governor was like, no offense to anyone from Florida, by the way, but the governor decided that he would say anyone from the tri-state area has to quarantine. And I'm like, have you guys seen what you guys have been doing for the last 3 weeks on the beaches?
Right.
Like, you think we need to quarantine? We've been in quarantine. I don't know what you guys have been doing. You're raging and like partying on the beach, and we're like, this is a different world. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense unless everybody does it together. That's the tricky part.
Yeah, that is the really tricky part of this whole thing. So great, I'll kick it off. Thank you guys all so much for joining today's episode of Search from Home. As I was saying previously, we have a logo now, so we are official.
That's how you know. That's how you know you made it big time, when you have a logo.
We've arrived. Thank you guys all for joining again. If you don't mind just making sure you're muted out, everyone should start off on mute. Feel free to share your cameras, guys. We'd love to see your faces if you're willing. Love to see some repeat folks on here. John Gutierrez, 3 days in a row. I've noticed you there. Thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Michael Burr, of course, love having you here. So many other people, Sean and others. Very happy to have you on board. Love seeing your faces. Makes me feel good. Makes everyone else feel good to see each other. But we have a special guest today, Lily Ray from Path Interactive. She is a let's say a deity of SEO and a rising star in our industry. And I love spending time with her, both personally and professionally. So I'm so glad she could join us. She's been doing some research into COVID, and she's also a very active, she has a license to spin, I believe. So she's both on turntables and on bicycles. So she's a great health coach as well. So figured we could ask her for some advice there while we're all cooped up and get into it. So thanks so much for joining us, Lily.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, and you're in Brooklyn right now, right?
I am indeed. The epicenter of this whole thing. Yep. Williamsburg. It's a lot of fun. Exciting time to be here.
Did they close your roof deck? Is that it? You're really sequestered just in your place, or what?
Thankfully, my roof deck is open. But the indoor spaces in my apartment building have been closed. And I heard through the grapevine that we have a few cases of coronavirus in the building, so that's extra exciting.
Nice. Yeah, I
Yep.
heard you said something about one on your floor or something.
Yeah, again, it's through the grapevine, so there's no official confirmation, but there was a day last week when the building put out some messaging that was like, all the indoor shared spaces have been closed. I was like, okay,
Oh, that's
yeah,
that is very fun.
a little scary.
So, how have you been? How have you been holding up?
I mean, I like to keep things in perspective. I feel extremely privileged as far as, you know, being able to still have a job, being able to work from home. I don't have any children, so that's also been like, you know, compared to what some people are dealing with right now, you know, having kids at home and trying to work and balancing all of that, I'm doing okay. So I've been kind of like throwing myself into trying to help as many people as possible, because a lot of my friends are out of work, a lot of my, you know, family is struggling with childcare, and a lot of them are elderly and things like that. So I'm just doing my best to help others as much as I can.
Yeah, I love what I've been seeing recently. I don't know if anyone saw this. I think we should usually just start off just talking about a few feel-good things, because I think there's just too much, like, you know, it's
Yeah.
hard to find the feel-good stories.
For sure.
I actually heard a really it's kind of a duality of one. There was a guy, I think he was in Long Island. I'll have to get the exact stuff for you guys. I saw it on New York One, which has now become like the staple station for me no matter what. I mean, it was kind of before, but it was like only in small drips and drabs. Now I actually like binge watch it. Find that's very.
You're binge watching New York One?
Yeah, you know, like I'll have it going like in the morning, and then I'll do it in the afternoon just to see what's happened and catch up on Cuomo, because he always says something interesting. So it's
Yeah.
But I actually, there's this interesting story about this guy. He had to bring his son into a Long Island hospital. His son ended up having pneumonia, but it was not COVID related. But as he watched the doctors going through this horrible process of not having all the equipment they needed, he actually owned a small manufacturing firm using 3D manufacturing machines, and he decided he would make face mask shields. So like at least the plastic parts that go, not the actual visor, but like the part that holds the visor. And he started a GoFundMe campaign to get actually enough materials to make it. And then I heard a similar thing happening at Stony Brook University. They have 20 of these MakerBot essentially machines, and they are actually printing. I think it takes 5 hours, unfortunately, to make one. But like they are printing, they're trying to print, they're doing 45 a day. Now they're trying to get it up to 100. Some of the students have come in staying at social distancing, but actually helping the machines build these things. I actually think it's very interesting conceptually that like we could have an army of these 3D, you know, 3D used to be like the big deal. Everyone was talking about 3D for a while. You remember that was like 3D printing, 3D printing. This could actually be a thing. Like, you know, they were even talking about trying to make ventilator pieces. You know, not that I really want to put someone's life in jeopardy as the piece was made on a 3D printer and not by the official manufacturer. But when they're talking about splitting ventilators and doing crazy stuff like that, you know, this is a pretty amazing thing that people are doing. So.
Yeah,
no,
totally.
that's super cool. And I mean, I think you're seeing a lot of that around the world right now, right? You know, a lot of people banding together, people coming in, you know, saying, hey, listen, we'll retrofit I know Elon Musk said they'll retrofit their machines, you know, to create masks, to create ventilators, you know, so it's really awesome to see everyone, you know, kind of band together and help out, you know, so I think from there, it kind of goes back into, you know, what we're seeing in our community, you know, in the search community as well. You know, Lily, you had started off by saying, you know, you're just out there, you know, thankful to have a job, you know, helping people, which is awesome. What are you seeing out there, just from like, what are you guys doing at Path? What are you doing personally? And just what are you seeing your other friends in the industry kind of doing to kind of chip in and help others who are in need right now, you know, help out?
Yeah, I mean, so like in general, SEO as an industry, I think we're really lucky, because if anything, this is going to increase demand for SEO services overall, because people need to shift to being you know, accessible online and visible online. But of course, you know, for SEO professionals, how they're doing right now is completely contingent on who their clients are and what types of industries they service. So if you are doing SEO for the hotel industry, like it's not obviously been a good couple of weeks for you.
Yeah.
And so being at an agency, we have so many different types of clients that some clients are hurting really hard right now. And that's been really challenging for us. A few of them are partners that we've had for 10 plus years. And so it's a challenging conversation because things are going really, really well from an SEO standpoint. And you basically wake up one morning and they can't pay the bills anymore. And so what we're trying to do is be as accommodating and consultative as possible and just be a partner throughout the whole process. You know, and just try to see things for the long-term potential of like, you know, continuing our partnership, helping them coming up with ways in the interim that they can continue to make money and service their customers. So it's tricky. And then other companies are seeing huge surges in demand, which is also really interesting. So some unexpected industries have seen like giant upticks in traffic in the last couple of weeks. So that's also been like, okay, well, this is weird. Kind of
Hey, without sharing names, Lily, can you give us some sense of like some of the industries you're seeing being extremely impacted, both negatively and positively? Just, and as well, if you've seen anyone who's been able to, sorry for the string question, but like, if you've seen any people transforming their business in a digital fashion that wasn't previously in order to like cope as a coping mechanism to hold on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the companies that have been hit the most from our perspective are the ones that require, you know, are the clients meeting with their customers in person, obviously. So anything like restaurants obviously is going to be affected, hotel and travel and tourism. We have a massage client that's been having a really hard time for obvious reasons. A few clients that do like in-person trainings and seminars. So for those types of clients, we're actually, for all the clients, we're coming up with strategies around like transitioning those services to online. So like fitness, even the massage client, we're coming up with ways that they can do like mindfulness and meditation through video. We have some clients that do like rehab and wellness and things like that. And we're also advising them on transitioning to video and, you know, virtual counseling sessions and things like that. So it's tricky because it requires some new technology and infrastructure to get all that stuff in place. And in many cases, it's not as profitable as their, not even close to as profitable as their regular business model. But I think just being a partner and coming up with like creative solutions that our clients can use is something that is greatly appreciated right now. So we're doing the best we can.
Yeah,
and I think we're seeing that kind of everywhere, right? You know, like, because Conductor is kind of in the same boat. We have customers all over the place, and you know, like you said, if you're an airline right now or in hospitality, you know, you're having a tough few weeks right here. I saw one of our customers was just posting on LinkedIn that, you know, listen, like, you know, the last 2 weeks have been really terrible, but you know, we're repositioning and reprioritizing just how we can, you know, accommodate our guests and how we can accommodate everyone, you know, away from, you know, all the bad news that are happening, and right, how, you know, how can we have a positive impact, you know, during this, and you know, when this bounces back, which it will, you know, so what can we handle now that we may have been putting off, that we want to, you know, continue, like, that we want to continue building here, so that when we plant those trees, you know, we plant those trees now, so even in a couple of months, you know, they'll help us in the long term. And I think, like, you know, depending on, you know, what type you are, you know, there's a lot of people in the middle. There are some people at the extremes. There are some people who, like you said, are seeing surges, but I think that's just like everyone's trying to find that balance right now of, you know, because even, you know, for us, like, you don't, you know, we said this on the last couple episodes, that you don't want to look like you're capitalizing on anything. You want to help, like a lot of therapies, a lot of local places around here in Long Island converted their like kickboxing lessons to virtual. And, you know, the guy is doing them through Zoom, or is videoing them and sending them out for free, you know, just to get people through, so that, you know, when everything does come back around, you know, hopefully in the next couple of months, you know, that the business is still there. Because I think that's another piece of it, is that we have to continue to nurture the business, or help our customers nurture the business that they've created, because the business will come back. It's just this temporary stall that's happening right now due to everything that's going on.
Yeah, and Lily, I know you started something for small businesses, right? I mean, you started a little bit. I won't call it a movement just yet, but a call to arms for SEOs to essentially provide pro bono time to help smaller businesses out with their difficult times in these situations. If you want to give a little bit of shout and call out to that, I'm sure there's some folks on here that'd be real interested in that. We should definitely share that link, by the way, in the chat as well.
Sure. Yeah, so that was kind of a personal project. It's just there's so many people offering their services right now. And to this day, it's like everyone's trying to do something and it's kind of chaotic how much is happening. So my thinking was just to provide a couple of different forms where people could submit their contact info. So I have digital marketers that are offering pro bono services right now. So in the form of consultation or strategy or execution, whatever they really just want to offer. And then I have businesses that are looking for support. So I have the business just like provide a little bit of information about who you are, what you need help with, how you've been impacted by this whole thing. And then I actually had a school reach out to me that said, we really like what you're doing. We're looking for marketers that would be willing to teach a course or two online for our students. So I put up a new form for marketers that are interested in teaching courses. And the response from marketers has been overwhelming. There's like, I want to say like 100-to-1 ratio of marketers to businesses right now. So I've actually been struggling to reach the small business community. And I imagine it's just because they have better things to do than looking at Twitter right now. So if anybody wants to share that with any affected businesses that they know, that would be awesome. Because essentially at this point, I'm trying to identify the marketers that have certain strengths like local SEO or social media, and then tie them, into communication with a local business that needs those types of services. But right now it's basically like 15-to-1. So I have a lot of marketers like, hey, why are you like emailing me and this many other people? We're going to be overlapping. I'm like, well, because there's just not enough businesses. So you guys want to spread the word? That'd be awesome.
Then it's a question of just helping get small businesses to know they can get help.
Mhm.
So,
Exactly.
So I think there's a lot of people. Let me see how many people do we have right now? We have
40.
40 some odd people. All right, cool. So, I mean, this plus the people who are going to be watching this online, we actually just slapped up an archive page. Not to say we don't want you to join us every day. Obviously we do. And there's real benefit hopefully in having you guys live with us. But if you miss an episode and you want to catch up, or, that whole work thing gets in the way, by all means, go back and catch up, watch an episode, hear what that person said or what that person thought. We'll have an archive page we'll share out with you guys as well. But on that note, let's all try and find businesses that need help, small businesses, local businesses that need help, so that Lily can continue this push, which I think is very admirable, frankly, and to the spirit of what search really is, right? We've never been shy to share I kind of love that about our industry. We've never been shy to share our expertise, and that's not to say it's only search. It's social and other forms of digital marketing. But by all means, let's support Lily in this process. And if you guys all don't mind using your social clout to send that message out, we'll make sure afterwards we kind of compile something that's a good little message we can either put on LinkedIn or on a whole bunch of different forums and get out there. If everyone's cool with that, big thumbs up. Thank you, Lily.
Thanks,
That's
Lee.
awesome.
And I put the link in the chat just so everyone can go to the page and help out. Really awesome thing that Lily put together. So Lily, thank you so much again. And again, I guess from there, let's kind of jump into some stuff that we're seeing out there. So we actually are conducting a survey right now just amongst all different businesses and business leaders. I'm going to go through some of this on 30/30 tomorrow, but want to kind of bring a couple of things up now. So we had polled folks from all over and basically asked them, like, what were your top performing online channels in 2019? Across the board, for the most part, most of them said that organic search was very closely followed by paid search and email marketing. And then there's a whole host of others. But then we then flipped it and said, hey, in the face of all of this, how do you think this is going to impact your marketing strategy? And I thought it was really interesting that over 40% of them, or maybe it's only 40% of them, said that they will specifically invest more lower cost channels like SEO. And I kind of want to open that up. Do you guys find that's like, which side of the fence do you find that? Are you surprised that only like 40% of people responded? It's a several hundred people that responded. Or do you think that sounds about right? That about less than half people are going to invest more, or do you think that it should be more?
On you, Lily.
Lily, what do you think?
Of course I think it should be more than SEO.
Like
Come
100%.
on. It's always should be more. It's always like, why do people not understand this is like the best long-term investment for their business? But no, I get it. I mean, yeah, we've had a few clients that have this has been a big wake-up call for them. They've emailed us in the past couple of days and said, you know what, we need to go harder than ever into SEO because it's just the thing that's going to keep us afloat. And like, we need to be there when our business comes back. Because if we stop investing in this right now, 6 months from now, and hopefully things are relatively normal again, we're not ranking. Like, it's going to take us that much longer to rank.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important right now. Media you can turn on and off. You can't do that with SEO. You have to continue to cultivate it. So I think it's important to, even if it hurts in the short term, just continue to invest in it so that you're there when you need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
What's one of the things that surprised you so far, Lily, in terms of like either an industry that you were very surprised to see was able to thrive, or just the way someone's adapted their business that was surprising to you?
I guess, so I put out an article last week about some changes in organic search visibility. So I guess this shouldn't be surprising, but there were some websites that were pretty heavily affected by algorithm updates over the past couple of years that saw big drops in visibility, particularly like natural medicine and wellness websites. So Google has been pushing towards, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, EAT. And one result of that is that beginning with really around the Medic update, August 1st of 2018, a lot of these types of sites that said, if you want to prevent rosacea, then just make this tincture of like, herbs and lemonade and whatever, and it'll help your skin. Like that kind of stuff stopped performing as well a couple of years ago. And with subsequent algorithm updates, there's been almost like a suppression of that type of content as Google surfaces things like Healthline and WebMD and Mayo Clinic to really make sure that it's putting forth expert medical advice and not suggesting anything that could be potentially like dangerous or misinformation. So what's been interesting in the past couple of weeks is that, of course, when it comes to like coronavirus related queries, it's always going to be the World Health Organization. It's always going to be the CDC and trusted like government organizations. But there have been some of those natural wellness sites that have seen huge upticks in visibility because they have content about how to make hand sanitizer at home and how to make natural cleaning products, and suddenly people are scrambling, like looking for all this stuff. So that's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I've been doing so part of the analysis, and I'll have to get you access to this later.
Yeah.
I've got about like 23,000 terms, many of which have no search volume, but they were all based on coronavirus, COVID-19 terms, and a lot of them are like Google suggest terms, Bing suggest terms. By the way, Bing, guys, super shout out to Bing. Their data set, like just the amount of data they've been giving on zero search or zero search queries, but like actually providing those back as options, really good, really, really good. I've just found them to be a wealth of resource that I had never, I guess, and this is not by any means a knock, because Christy Olson will call me right now and just like lay into me over this, but like, and I will have her on the show and we'll talk about this, but their data set, they've been very, very kind, I think, with marketers sharing the data sets of what's up. And as I went through this, I started realizing I can't just be looking at stuff with search volume because there's just not enough of it, right? The search volume just isn't happening yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much of a trailing indicator. But what I did start thinking about is actually looking at what sites are showing up. So I'm starting to do an analysis of the 24,000 keywords broken down into categorizations and understanding, like, is it the Mayo Clinic that's showing up or who else? And what was interesting is when you get into dogs, like a lot of people are talking about their pets, right? They're concerned. Does it, the whole concept of zoology here and the idea that this may have transferred in a Wuhan food market from an animal to a person, whether or not that's true or not. But conceptually, that idea then carries forward to, well, then could you give that to your animal? Could your animal transfer it back to someone else in your family? So this whole concept of people looking this stuff up is happening. What I'm finding interesting is American Kennel Club, others are actually showing up, not just the Veterinary Associations of America or things like that. What I am surprised about that I'm not seeing any PetSmart content with authoritative people. showing up. I'm not seeing Chewy or anyone else trying to build content. Would that be out of their depth for their typical content writer? Yes. Would it be completely uncalled for them to get the best veterinary scientist they can get their hands on to write a piece for them? No, I don't think that would be uncalled for at all. In fact, I think it'd be very kind of them, and they have probably a better email list than some of the veterinary hospitals to be able to get this information out. So from a benefit perspective, it'd be great to see that sort of thing happening. So I think to your point, it's not just thinking about like what's being searched for, but also like the converse of that, which is what's actually showing up and who's showing up.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting couple of weeks of doing keyword research for our clients, because almost all of them have something that they can say about how this impacts their industry or their business. And we do have a couple of pet clients where we have been putting out that type of content. But it's been, like you said, you can't look at monthly search volume because the month's not even over yet. we don't even know how much it's going to be for this month. And Google Trends is probably the best place to look right now because it has like hourly breakouts of what's happening. So we've just this morning, we have a tax client that's like, hey, can you look up search volume around the coronavirus stimulus package as it relates to taxes? And we're like, okay, but that's pretty much been the last 24 to 48 hours and people have been searching for that. So we don't have that much data yet. We don't know how the keywords compare from one to another, but we've been doing a lot of those breakout, Google Trends analysis for clients.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're going to have to become, I've always said we are, SEO is 401k versus day traders. But I think we're going to have to kind of day trade our 401k accounts for a little while, at least in the investigation of stocks, right? Yeah. To invest in. Sorry, I know that's a very painful topic for everyone right now, even though you never know, right? The market's been like
maybe not.
I don't know. I don't
actually not doing too bad.
I don't want to look anymore. I'm not looking. Yeah. I'm not looking like this. But but yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about how we need to evolve some of that stuff. And it's also sad to hear that, I forgot where I heard this on the news, but there was someone saying to the effect that like a lot of the small businesses are unaware of the loans that are now available to them because there's just been such a poor, the speed at which this is happening is unprecedented, right? Yeah. So but also just a poor communication of that information of what actually can and can't happen. Like there were small businesses paying sales taxes this past week and they didn't know if they were allowed to or if they could put that off. Like those are things that people need to jump ahead of. And, even though it may not be COVID related, as in it's not going to help you keep yourself healthy, but it's definitely going to help your business in understanding whether or not you should or shouldn't be doing something fundamental to the business based on what's happening out there.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, almost like experiment in communications across America, because like in New York City, we have a text alert system that I've subscribed to, which like not everybody subscribes to this thing, but it is very helpful when they text us. But I don't know what other cities are doing in terms of communication, but I've been surprised that it hasn't been a more concerted effort to reach as many people as possible. Like, aren't there like loudspeakers on the street that we could be using or something? Because then like here in New York, it's like half the people are getting the message and half the people just seem like they maybe aren't. Yeah. So it's been interesting. And then of course you can go search for things online, but depending on where you search and what you're used to reading, if you jump onto Fox News or if you jump onto CNN, you're going to get different information. And if you use Bing or Google, you're going to get different information. So I feel for the providers of information as well as the search engines themselves, because they're grappling with so much misinformation. Things are changing so quickly. And I think Google in particular has done a really good job with coronavirus of controlling misinformation. I can't say the same about Facebook. And Bing, actually, I've seen some issues on there. Hopefully they've addressed them, but it's a very daunting task.
Yeah. I actually, funny enough, I was looking at the data that that Bing was putting out. It was just very interesting in that, and again, it was not in the result types. It was more, I was looking at just the suggestions, and just the sheer number of suggestions outweighed the sheer number of suggestions I was getting back from Google, like almost 2 to 1 sometimes on the just the sheer volume. So I had more to choose from, right? Now, that's easy for me because I can just put them into my product and track them and see if they end up getting search volume. So I have that luxury. But like ultimately just having a visibility into those terms and being able to see how they kind of cluster out and the way people are kind of starting to string queries, I think is a very interesting kind of thing. And I know you've been doing some research as well into how people are searching. What were some things that surprised you in your research?
I mean, so I think the most surprising thing at this point is people like not getting the memo yet. Like people still searching like, is it just as bad as the flu? Is it contagious? Like I'm hoping that those are search queries from a couple months ago, because the thing about it is like, you know, here in New York, we're at the epicenter of, I think not the world, but at least the US in terms of number of cases. But we had a lot of time to prepare ourselves, maybe not a lot, but we saw what was happening 10 days ago in Italy.
Yeah.
We saw what was happening 20 days ago in Wuhan. And I don't know that people have been taking it seriously enough. And unfortunately, I think the same thing is going to echo throughout the US and other parts of the world soon. So that's been the surprising part for me, is that it's taking people this long to take it seriously.
Yeah, actually, small point. I just read recently, I don't know if we can all confirm this, but Google My Business is actually letting businesses change their add to their name, especially restaurants and so forth, deliveries and so deliveries or takeout order as an additional thing, so that when people actually look up the queries, and they'll end up showing up better in the local packs and end up serving individuals better.
Yep.
One of the things I'm personally trying to figure out, and again, don't want to knock any local restaurant or business, no one is really giving information as to whether or not this transfers via food, right? Like in other words, like if someone prepares food for me and they're sick, can I get it? And I know there's a fear and a stigma around that. And I guess, are we advising restaurants as to how to be cleanly with their staff, ensure that they're like following protocols? You know, do you feel more comfortable if the person making your pizza is wearing a mask? Like, should that person, and gloves? And then like, do you make sure that when people come in and see that they understand that they're taking precautions for you? You know, and I wonder whether or not, I know I've seen plenty of businesses in New York that are not doing that, but I'm also wondering whether or not that's something that people should be taking into account. You can confirm probably the local part, right?
Yes, so you can add takeout available, delivery available, curbside pickup available as part of your business name on Google My Business temporarily. And this was like extrapolated from some communication that Google My Business put out. I don't know if it was like an individual conversation or something that they put out, but it wasn't explicitly like, these are the only 3 phrases that you can use. It was basically like, we're not in the business of shutting people down right now for spreading business names. Like we're letting, especially restaurants, like go and promote themselves however they need to. And I believe, I might be wrong about this, but I believe they're pausing reviews right now for at least restaurants.
Yeah, they're pausing. So all local reviews, and you can't reply to reviews or anything. So and I'll drop the link in here actually, if anyone's interested. So if you're working with local, like anything local, like right now you can't like soliciting reviews. If you're sending emails out about that, you know, it's a waste, because you know you can't post anything. The folks can't respond to those reviews. So that's something that is going to go on, you know, for the foreseeable future until this is all over. And I get that too. You know, I get that why they're doing that, so that, you know, people can, you know, people don't have to focus on that right now, because local businesses should be focused on, especially if they're a restaurant, on, you know, doing things, you know, in a clean way. And like I said, and I mentioned this yesterday on the program, that like all the local restaurants right around me, I think are doing a great job, because they're telling people times to come. They have lines outside, and they're spacing people out. They have, you know, 2 businesses are working together. One day, one will serve drinks. One day, one will serve dinner, and then they'll do vice versa. The following days, just kind of cool off. And but the review thing is interesting, because I'll bet you there's probably a lot of folks that are still sending out, you know, like campaigns or email blasts to kind of get reviews, and they might be wasting money on that, because you literally can't post any reviews on Google right now.
Yeah, I saw some local SEOs recommending that last week. Like, oh, one way you can support local businesses is to go out and leave them a bunch of good reviews. It's like, I can't do that for now.
Yeah. It's
But
like, oh no.
but
Yeah.
Stefan, to your point, yesterday I did actually order from Sweetgreen, who has always done a really, really good job with digital and with online marketing. And it's tricky because in New York, we're still able to do delivery and pick up for many restaurants, even bars. And so I'm trying to do that because that's a way of hopefully helping
Supporting
these
people, yeah.
places, stay in business. But it also, some people say it's kind of tricky because you don't know where the food has been and you don't know if it's a delivery person is sick or, so it's this really like, it puts you in this really uncomfortable position. But I ordered from Sweetgreen and I noticed that they already have an FAQ page about how they're handling COVID. And it says, this is the steps that we're taking as precautions to make sure that our food is safe and that our workers are safe. And so that can go a really long way. I think everybody that's doing digital marketing should have some type of COVID page on their site, FAQ page, if it's relevant to their business, about how they're handling the situation.
Yeah, I might even one up that and say like, and I don't know if how people are because they can get trolly and stuff, but hopefully not in this environment. Like we'd hope like the trolls can just shut down for a little bit. I mean, obviously
they won't, but that's okay.
They were work from home anyway. Like they were already at home and very angry about life. And anyway, so they weren't trapped, or they felt very good in their little holes. But the point is, like I would love to see, or I would feel even more, I guess, at ease if I was to see a video of how they prepare. Like if you put your FAQ and then you show these are the measures we take. Now, we don't want to add liability and stuff, but yeah, one person in the store and another person filming. I mean, if Jimmy Fallon can do his show from home, I don't know if you guys saw that, with his girls hanging all over him and his wife doing the production, like, I'm sure somebody can go to a Sweetgreens that owns one and do like a video of preparation to show what that looks like and make people feel more at ease along with an FAQ, because seeing is believing, right? And like, that's kind of part of it. Like I can read an FAQ about how well you're going to take care of my food, but I don't know that's actually happening, right? Sometimes I need to I'm not trying to be an agoraphobe, which I feel like I might have become in my
Sure about that?
I think we all have.
Or a germaphobe, which I think I've also become. So I'm like,
Yep.
Which other phobias will I get before this is over? But like, I kind of feel like we need to like we got to see it, right? And like, especially now, like if I don't see it, I don't believe it. Like, so it's and especially against the virus that you can't even see, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm maybe I'm overdoing it. I'm the guy who's actually wiping down all packages before they come into my house. My wife is like Cloroxing whatever she can get out of a package to make sure it's good. Obviously, we have a pregnant wife at home, so we want to make sure we're safe. But maybe we're.
Interesting point on this, actually, and thank you, Merch from in the chat says that if everyone points your attention there, he says that we work with 18,000 food trucks, and we did some research about food safety, and we found that you can't really get sick from food. Food trucks in particular have only 1 to 3 people preparing the food, so it's a closed kitchen, and they use gloves and are very conscious of handling money and cards and etc. So that's interesting, and that makes me feel good, and probably makes you feel great.
Yeah, very great to see that you're on here. He's a great guy, actually. I didn't even think about the food trucks. Sorry, dude. It's like food trucks right now in New York City are not really a staple, even though you think they kind of should be, right? Because like they could bring the food closer to where the demand is. Mm-hmm. So that actually could be a real benefit, as opposed to having to, we bring it to you versus you bring it to us. And here we go. We got him on camera. Hey, man.
Hey, how are you?
Anything else you want to let us know about the food preparation process and kind of just like what you've been learning? Maybe like, are you guys putting out any content around that sort of stuff?
So, well, our business in particular is catering and events, so it's been very deeply affected. So we're basically operating on zero revenue, and we're basically saying, hey, what can we do right now just for the industry And that includes starting a GoFundMe here in Los Angeles. We're basically, we just did this yesterday. We're putting in, basically we're raising funds to activate a food truck to go to a local nonprofit and make hot meals.
That's awesome.
To give to like school children and things like that. So we might launch that in other cities if we're successful. But in terms of food trucks, a lot of them are actually very torn, and I'm in some Facebook groups where they're very active and just kind of communicating with each other. And it's a very close-knit community. But a lot of them just shut down. They're like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't feel comfortable going out. I have kids who are immune compromised, things of that nature. Some of them in some states where it hasn't really, they're just sort of behind everybody else in terms of stay-at-home orders. A lot of them are still going out, but being very conscious. So I think there's a lot of, they've always been very conscious because they're always scrutinized by local governments.
Yeah,
So
a little more than the actual physical standalone properties, right?
Yeah. So in my opinion, and I'm biased, so I'll just put that out there, but they're probably a lot more conscious and careful than other bigger restaurants, I would say. But yeah, the research we've done, and this was a couple of weeks ago when everything started to kind of snowball. You can't really get it from food. Of course, if there's 10 people handling the bag that you're delivering in, you might want to throw the bag away and wash your hands. But I think they're taking steps and they're trying to figure out how to survive more than anything. And some of them are just choosing, hey, I'm just going to shut the truck down like it's winter, because a lot of them shut down during the winter, and then ride this one out. But you also make a great point of like, hey, delivery. So a lot of them are actually looking, hey, how do I take advantage of this? Because I'm sure there's people in apartment buildings that cannot eat,
Right.
that don't want to go out to buy groceries. They want something delivered. So a lot of them are doing like Square stores where they're setting up delivery and prepaid options. But the other thing that I would encourage everybody here to do is talk to whoever your building manager is or whoever the HOA is, and just say, hey, what if we reached out to some of these food trucks? And you can go to, you can go online, you can go to Google My Business, you can go to Roaming Hunger and find out where they are. You can reach out and just say, hey, let's bring a food truck, see how it works. And if it's successful and you guys like it, they'll come.
I love that idea. I mean, I live in a building, Baruch Huzan also lives in the same building, but like I live in a building with 800 units. So it's like literally a city block in New York.
Yeah.
If the restaurant came to us, so to speak, and then just kept going upstairs with deliveries, it would be, they would definitely make enough business, that's for sure, right? And at the same time, it would definitely make residents feel better about not having to go out. It's almost like a meal plan, in a weird way, which I kind of love that idea. I don't know. Anyone else have a take on that? Want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting idea, right? And I think it's, coming up with something creative and helpful during a really, uncertain time, and it's something, it's like, again, it comes back to, you're not trying to capitalize on what's going on. You're just trying to get out there and help people get food, while also, just helping your business survive. And there's also nothing wrong with that. And I think, and even in some of the tone, the stuff I've said on this, it's like, I don't want people to think that, there's anything wrong with helping your business survive. Like, we all want to help each other, but in Merch's case, I mean, think about that, operating on zero revenue because of this whole thing, and still getting out there and still trying to make something happen, that helps people and also, helps his business survive. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I loved hearing, in a downtime like this, his focus is on, a nonprofit and, how you can help. Just an awesome response. I think similarly, a lot of people, people on this call are in many different industry categories, and maybe it's a good time to reach out to the association within your category to see how you can help and use like your SEO skills and content skills to help the association at this point, build more members, reach out, see what you can do. I'm sure they love the help, but yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, let's do this. Let's open it up. Is anyone else dealing with a business challenge? I think we have like 15 minutes left on the call today. Is anyone else dealing with a business challenge we can try and all tackle together? So, I mean, I love that concept merch. I think that's great. I think it kind of gave us all something we can do. I'm definitely going to reach out to my building management and see that. By the way, if you can share with us when you do get the GoFundMe page, like by all means, put that out there. We'd love to help promote that via our social channels. Also, if you can get us like how we find where food trucks are, so make it easier for everyone. Like, I love that concept. Take it one step further. I'll offer this idea to you. If you want to write an article on it or any type of thing like that, more than happy to post that article on our blog and promote the heck out of it as a mechanism by which we can hopefully get it out there, because I think that idea is really great. And I'll open that up to anyone else. If you have a business issue or a solution to a problem, by all means, like, provide that to us, and we'll be more than happy to share that both via social and whatever other mechanisms we have at our disposal to get in front of as many people as possible.
Perfect. Appreciate that.
No problem. So any other brave souls? Anybody's got something? There's way too many people on this call not to have a business problem. So I'd love to hear someone who's challenged with something. Lily's brilliant. Pat's even smarter than most people I know. Like, there's a ton of brain power on this call. Let's go. Anybody got a business problem we can tackle? Need help? Anyone need help?
Hi, this is John Gutierrez. Can you hear me?
Gotcha, John. What's going on?
Yeah, so obviously being in healthcare, it's all about trying to understand how we can help our members, both from a clinical and a lifestyle perspective. So that's kind of the research that we're doing. So some of the tips that you're providing here are really helpful. So as I work with my agency partners and trying to provide answers to leadership and trying to also caveat the whole thing where, the data that we're pulling, right, monthly search volume is from a few weeks ago or whatnot. So trying to caveat those things. So that's where my time is spent with our agency partners, is really trying to understand the lifestyle issues from coronavirus, as well as what are some of the tips from a safety perspective, how you can work from home, some of the research that you're seeing about garage gyms spiking on exploding topics, some of those type of things. So it's trying to corral it all in such a way that it's digestible from folks. And using your term, I think you had yesterday or the day before, about democratizing this data. And so I'm working I'm in the marketing team, so it's trying to figure out what's the best distribution, or do we create another distribution to share this information. So trying to do that real time is a challenge.
Yeah, I'm sure the production can be tough too. Lily, have you been working with anyone in healthcare recently that you can give a little bit of thoughts on? Or Pat, I know we have a bunch of healthcare clients. Anything we can do to kind of provide some insights as to what we think hospital systems, others can be providing data on, that's not just the traditional, this is how we deal with COVID-19, but rather like all the lifestyle aspects of it?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's a lot about, like, and even going back to the account that you created, Stefan, with the 20,000 plus keywords. I think a lot of healthcare providers can talk about, like, it's not just about what they're doing, but it's a lot about prevention. It's a lot about, like, getting proper information out there. There's so many different places that you can get information. Lily even mentioned it before. Like, a lot of people just aren't getting the message, or not everyone is seeing the same websites or getting out there. I think that a lot of what you guys can work on is like preventative content, like what you should be doing, the proper way to wash your hands, things of that nature, like really basic stuff, which I know sounds kind of silly, but I think that's what people really need right now, is to get the correct, basic information about what they can do to keep themselves healthy, but also what they can do to keep their families healthy, what they can do to keep their businesses healthy, and also just what your what your point of view on that is, because a lot of people, people are putting, everyone's gonna, you can say the same thing, you can talk about masks. Let's talk about that, for example, right? You can say a big question that we see come across all that we've seen in our research is, does a mask help, keep me healthy? And a lot of people think that just because you have the mask on, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get sick, and it's actually the other way around. It's more so that if you are sick, you don't pass it on to someone else, to my understanding. And for the most part, a lot of people are very confused about that one point, and that's why they panic bought a ton of masks and they're wearing them anywhere. But if you're healthy, the mask actually doesn't really help you at all, and you're contributing to the problem. But if you are unhealthy, or if you're immune, have an immune deficiency and you need it, then you're taking away from folks who need that. So I would think about content around that, giving proper information to the world about what is going on and how to keep yourselves healthy and what your company's point of view is on it.
Yeah, I would love to. Go ahead. Sorry, Lily.
Yeah, no, just to add to that, in terms of if SEO is the goal, if getting new visibility and new searchers to read your content is the goal, you have to be really careful about how you're spending your resources, because trying to rank for something like, should I be wearing a mask? You're just probably not going to be able to compete unless you're some of the biggest government organizations, health organizations, or health publishers online, because Google is really cracking down on YMYL, your money, your life content right now. So depending on the query. So if it's something that's kind of niche and maybe it's a breakout topic, it's possible to rank, but something I've noticed is that there's a very consistent pattern among who gets to rank for certain keywords, because Google is really, really trying to ensure that only the most trusted content gets out there and that it's mitigating misinformation. But if it's something that's specifically for your customers, of course, you should be providing content on your website to answer their questions, and you shouldn't necessarily be looking at overall search trends to get those ideas of what you should be writing about. You should be speaking with your own internal customer service teams, or maybe looking at your live chat logs to get an understanding of your particular audience and the questions that they have.
Yeah, and John, get ready tomorrow. We're going to have Dwayne Forrester on as well, and we'll definitely be talking about internal search. That's a big Yext thing for them right now. He and I geeked out on it yesterday on the phone, talking about all the different sources of internal data we could be sourcing. But I actually just go through the maniacally weird process of how your life has changed and then try to answer those questions. So I'll give you an example. I just got an office chair. Woohoo! So finally, I'm one step closer to having a home office. Granted, I'm still on my couch with the picture behind me, but the desk is supposed to show up from Amazon on Friday. Very excited. I even have a microphone, but I have no place to put it, so I'm not even going to do all that stuff just yet. But the point of my getting the office chair is simply this. The process of bringing this package into my home, now luckily I have a balcony, so I take the thing in, and my pregnant wife is holding the door, and did we touch the door and the package? I mean, it's absolute insanity. Even when people tell you how to put on a mask and take off a mask, there's a whole method of doing it the right way, and then there's just you just did it wrong. So when you think about something as simple as cooking pasta in the day of COVID, what is the proper way to do that? Should I clean my counter off first, then put the box on? Do I put the box on? I know that's nuts. That sounds insane. But for somebody who's immunocompromised or has a pregnant wife that might, catch something, you are going to take every possible precaution you can right now to make sure that you don't catch this thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's scary numbers out there, and people are talking about the number of ventilators and all this scary stuff. That scares me enough to become a hypochondriac in that way and do everything I can to be cleanly and so forth. So as you go through and you think, do I have to do this differently because of COVID? That's not just something you're thinking in your psychosis, or I hope it's not, or maybe I just outed myself to the world here. Yes.
You're not alone. You are not alone. Believe me.
So my crazy thoughts are your crazy thoughts.
Absolutely. My entire way of thinking has changed in the last 2 weeks in ways that I never even knew. I didn't know I had maybe OCD, borderline OCD, but it's absolutely changing my behavior. And so I think you're right. And that's something that's going to kind of permeate throughout society, and if it hasn't already. So I think you're absolutely right, Stefan.
Yeah.
Hi, Lily.
Create the content.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, it's Michelle Tafoya. I worked with you at PATH.
I remember you.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to chime in because I'm loving this forum. I'm loving what you're talking about. Just to give you a little background on myself, I'm a life transition advisor and a change manager. So I've helped people for 30 years, mostly entertainers, professional athletes, CEOs, executives, individuals get through change and transition. And, you know, I'm on this forum because I have a lot of business executives, companies that I support, employees. And one thing that I just want to tap on with all of this, which is wonderful, is just the emotional status of where everybody is right now. What I'm seeing is that, you know, the topic that I'm seeing and why I chimed in is people's emotions. You know, everywhere you see posted and people's conversation is, I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling anxiety. And I just wanted to just let you know, and the, you know, the group know that I'm here pro bono to support any companies, individuals, elderly, people without families, you know, that need help through this transition and change. You know, I'm finding a lot of people are just being paralyzed and not wanting to move at all. And, you know, doing this for 30 years, not just on a professional level, but in my own life, I realized that, you know, we got to encourage each other to get through each step and each baby step. And so, you know, I just wanted to chime in there because I know we only had a few minutes left, and just to let you all know that, you know, someone like me exists and that I'm here. I've worked with major corporations, consulted with major companies, entertainment companies. And how I know Lily is I knew the importance of digital marketing and advertising. I knew the importance of SEO. And I became an intern at the company for 6 months because I knew it was such an important area of a business and individuals' lives and where the world is. So that's how I met Lily. And I just wanted to let anyone know that if they needed support or they had someone or a company or employees that need that help through this transition, someone like me is there.
Thanks so much, Michelle. That's really awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, in fact, we're seeing a lot of that. I know we're coming up on time soon, so we're seeing a lot of that happening also. I don't know if everyone's seen this, but I just heard a stat even today from Cuomo talking about how 40,000 retired individuals have now thrown themselves back into the healthcare system.
Wow.
And I think there was I forgot what the stat was about mental health professionals. I think it was 4,000 New York City or New York based mental health professionals are now making their time pro bono in order for people to who are having trouble struggling emotionally with this, you know, and go through that, which I think is amazing. And I love that concept. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And, you know, actually to the point we were making earlier, Lily, I think finding those damn lists of resources. So guys, like as we're on this chat group and we'll expand this to Slack and some other things, share Google Docs, like start building Google Docs, start doing what Lily's done in that she's done it for small business and marketers. And I love that, and schools too. I think it's amazing. But start compiling your lists of what you're seeing out there, whether it's the free app that you can use for mental health or for meditation, just a list of resources that you can start sharing with one another. I know we have one going around for parents, which is things you can do that are free, I think, with your kids and so forth, ideas for keeping them sane at home. So I know, like, and that was a bunch of HR professionals put those together and are continuing to update them. So I think, like, these kinds of things are really great. I think they can help both, obviously professionally, but really personally as we go through this process, because everyone's going to struggle with it differently. So I would love this also to be a forum where we use that for good as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And everyone who has chimed in the chat and just given us, you know, resources to share, where you can donate your time to help. Really, really appreciate it. And we're definitely going to, we're definitely going to be sharing that out. Michelle, thank you for chiming in and letting people know that folks that what you do are there to help, during these times. I think that was another big impetus for getting this thing off the ground, just to get people together, share ideas, and share that these things exist. And people want to help. Lily started a whole thing for small businesses, and just to match people together. That's amazing. We have 3 or 4 charity links in here. That you can do to help. And I think that is, if we accomplish anything with this whole thing and we just get this out there, I think that we've done what we set out for.
Yeah, so guys, we're running up on the hour. This was really great. Lily, thank you so much for your time. Let's make sure, I don't know if you have that article, Lily's article, we should want to make sure to share that in the chat as well. You guys should read that on COVID-19. It was awesome research. She always does great research. Keep following her. She's always great. Lily, would love to have you on, be a part of this whenever you can make time for us. Love to have you here. Guys, thank you so much for all chiming in today. I think this was probably one of our most productive ones in terms of that. Tomorrow we're going to have Dwayne Forrester on with us, so make sure to tell your friends also. Any other digital marketers you want to bring into the fold and join us. We want nothing more than to get as many folks in here as possible and providing as much insight and help to one another as we can. By all means, reach out, link in with all of us, start linking in with each other. We'll try and make some more collaborative groups and ways that we can keep the conversation going while the hour is up. Thanks so much for the time, guys, and I look forward to seeing you all right here tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.